my people, how you doing? I hope you're having a damn good day. Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be doing Sergio Conceição's Porto set of tactics and formation going forward. Of course, it's the 4-4-2 formation, a very good counter-pressing system, a very good team that can remain low blocks if they need to, or they can look to be super aggressive with how they are looking to attack. And I think this is one of my most favorite set of tactics because in terms of replicating what you see on TV or what you're trying to replicate from YouTube videos and so on, I think this is very, very much nailed on if you're looking to try and replicate a realistic set of tactics for Porto. Now, I am going to butcher a lot of these names, so just bear with me, please, bear with me. But more importantly, hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. That would be absolutely fan-damn-tastic. I would love it, absolutely. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. But more importantly, let's hop on into the names and the formation and the people that we will be using for this formation going forward. So up front, we've got Evan Nilsson, or I don't know. We've got Taremi, we've got Pepe, we've got Estiquio, I don't know. We've got Uribe, Galeno, João Mario, Pepe, of course, Carmo, Wendell, and of course Diogo Costa. Then on the bench in the substitutes department, we've got Martinez, we've got Gabriel Veron, we've got Guric, Varela, Ramos, Cardosa, and Sanusi, I think. And then in the reserves, of course, you've got Marcano, Gonzalez, and a few others, Sanchez, of course, from Ajax. So there are a few other players in this team as well. But mainly going forward, we are going to be using a 4-4-2 flat formation. Basically, I have slightly altered it. I've brought the wingers slightly back. I've more or less aligned them with the fullbacks. It helps create a nice compact unit, especially when trying to press in those wider areas. It does help with having your fullbacks and your wide midfielders nice and in line, so it does help them help each other out, of course. So with this set of tactics, of course, press after loss of possession is very necessary. It starts off with the strikers up front. They look to try and lead that press the back line, press the opposition's goalkeeper, and it does help in creating a bit of a hurried momentum for the opposition, forcing them into mistakes potentially. But of course, one of your midfielders will also look to try and help them with that press going forward. Very similar to what we saw with the Sporting CP tactics, of course. Their forward line also looks to try and press the back line as much as possible, and very aggressively so. And that's what you will more or less try and see and try and replicate with the front two in this system. As for the width, it's a very narrow and compact width. In saying so, they do look to try and press out wide and force the opposition into those wider channels to try and whip balls into the box. Of course, you've got the likes of Diogo Costa, Pepe, Carmo, and a few other really tall, strong, physical players that can definitely win aerial duels and make it a lot harder for the opposition to try and score. But basically, you want to try and funnel the ball and the attacking outlet into that wider area for your fullbacks and potentially your wide midfielders to deal with in those situations. As for the depth, it's set to 75 now. What I did note was it's a very compact team going forward. So vertically, it's very compact, making sure that it's a nice high line, making sure you're pressing the opposition in their own half, forcing them back essentially, just creeping up the field and getting closer and closer to the goal, forcing them into mistakes, forcing them to try and hurry up the speed of play to try and beat your press, your front line press, and then of course your midfield craziness that you will look to try and implement. So it does work quite well with the depth being set to 75, and of course having the likes of Pepe and Carmo, they're not the fastest, so that's why you will have a sweeper keeper in this situation going forward. So with the offense, I've gone with a very balanced approach. Now, this is because, of course, with a very basic FIFA 23 system, you can't really have multifaceted tactical approaches. So having a balanced approach does try and get the best out of everyone. Now, more times than not, they'll look to try and move the ball very quickly through the midfield, through the thirds of the field, and up to the strikers, and get the ball into the box as quick as possible, trying to catch the opposition out more times than not. But at the same time, the ball from the back, the long ball straight into the possession of the striker, back to goal, lay it off, that is also a very elegant thing that they do look to try and implement throughout the game. But also they will look to try and slow things down, have a bit more possession going forward as well. So that's why I've gone with the balanced approach. As for the chance creation, it's direct. You want to be as direct as possible. You don't have time to be dilly-dallying with the ball. You want to either whip the ball into your striker, who's going to pass it out to your fullback, who's going to then whip the ball into the other striker, or you're going to look to just make runs with your striker in behind, hitting those long balls potentially in behind to your forwards. Of course, you can also go and set it to forward runs, getting those forward players making more runs in behind the opposition's backline. But I've gone with direct play because I think they are a bit more direct with their passing and their possession going forward. As for the width, it's set to 55. Now, essentially, this does make the field a bit more narrow, but what I did note was that there are a lot of little 5-yard passes, interchanging players moving in and around each other, and what this does is it tries to just narrow those wingers just ever so slightly. So your fullbacks will try and create the width in this team, with the wingers trying to come inside a bit more and link up play a lot more with your strikers, and also work in those little half spaces that are generated from your strikers and your midfield going forward. And then players in the box, it is a very cautious approach, but it is set to 6. So 3 players in the box, 3 players outside. You are going to want to try and supply the forward line, and more times than not, it will be an add or an extra midfielder making a late run into the box to try and latch onto those loose balls. But you are going to look to try and supply your forward or your front 2 with great crosses into the box from either your winger or your fullback. And then as for corners and free kicks, as per always, it is set to 4. So as for Diogo Costa, I have set him to be a bit of a sweeper keeper and of course come for crosses. Of course, when you are playing such a high line, you do need a keeper to be able to run off of his line, collect the ball, make saves from outside the box, and then potentially collect it and then spray it off. And what I did take note of Diogo Costa with his tendencies, really, he was always looking to try and supply the fullbacks to try and get them up the field as fast as possible. So whether it was with his feet or whether the ball was in his hands and he was looking to pass out, he would always look to try and hit the 2 fullbacks, making further runs up the field. And then, of course, come for crosses, looking to claim that ball in the defensive area, of course. But it makes the most sense, especially with FIFA 23. Why would you not want your goalkeeper to come out and claim those balls whipped into the box from crosses or corners or free kicks potentially? And as for Carmo and Pepe, they are set to their base set of instructions. And then as for João Mario and Wendell, they are set to the same set of instructions. Join the attack and overlap. Like I said, they'll look to try and create the width on either side, either flank, of course. And they'll look to bomb on past the 2 wingers, the wide midfielders, and they'll look to supply the forward line with crosses into the box. Whereas your wingers will look to more or less try and come inside a bit more, linking up play with the midfield, joining the midfield in certain moments as well. So moving on into the midfield, we've got Uribe. He is set to have a balanced attack, balanced crossing runs, so he won't always look to get into the box. He will look to hang around that area as much as possible. But I have set him to have aggressive interceptions, and this is because he does look to make a few more tackles than normal. He does look to try and protect that back line as much as possible, but also try and win the ball back as quick as possible. He is more or less the engine in this midfield going forward, and he's set to stick to position and then cover the wing. So if João Mario does look to bomb on forward and he hasn't come back, he will look to slot into that right back role and just cover that space for the time being. And then as for his midfield counterpart, he will look to get forward a little bit more, but not too far forward. He'll look to stay on the edge of the box, look to try and, recycle possession if need be. If you're looking to try and slow play down, he will look to be that man that does it. But again, he is set to aggressive interceptions. This midfield pivots, they are looking to make it very hard and very difficult for the opposition when they enter that narrow central area of the pitch. And then he is set to stick to position and then cover the wing as well. So like Uribe will do on the right-hand side, he will do on the left-hand side. If Wendell is bombing on and hasn't come back yet, he will look to try and slot into that left-back role and cover for him if need be. And then as for our wingers, they are set to the same set of instructions. Both are set to come back on defense, cut inside, and then come short. So like I say, you want them to be very narrow, very compact in that midfield, playing the little 1-2 passes, the little 5-yard passes, making sure players ticking over, overloading the midfield in certain moments, and essentially overpowering your opposition. Because a lot of games in football are won and lost in the midfield, and that is more or less how Porto gets their games won, by trying to overload that midfield, overpower the opposition, and then score goals, of course, winning that ball back nice and high up the field, and then counter-attacking. And then, of course, both wingers are set to get into the box for crosses. And as you can see for Gelano, he is set to the same set of instructions as well. So then as for our strikers, we'll start off with Taremi. He is set to drift wide, have a mixed attack, aggressive interceptions, and then, of course, stay forward. So firstly, the 2 forward men, the 2 strikers, they don't look to try and help the midfield. That's also why the midfield does remain super compact at times, because they'll look to try and hang back, hang on the shoulder of the back line, and try and make runs off of that, be as direct as possible back into them, of course, and be physical with the 2 centre-backs, the opposition centre-backs. But with Taremi, I've set him to drift wide because basically both strikers do tend to do this. They both tend to try and pull the opposition centre-backs out of position, creating space for the one midfield that does look to bomb on a little bit more, or potentially your wingers that do look to come inside. So they look to try and create width by making arc runs in and out of the box. And like I say, it does tend to create a bit of havoc for the opposition because they don't know whether to stick or pull. And more times than not, it creates a lot of confusion. And that's how Porto tend to capitalize on the opposition's deficiencies in the back line. So he's said to have a drift wide approach. And like I say, aggressive interceptions are on because you are looking to press as high as possible when out of possession with the ball. And so on. And then as for the final man, the other striker, he is said to have a balanced width, so he will look to try and sometimes come inside a bit more, have a bit more of a central role, but again, he will also look to try and make those arcing runs, pull those centre-backs out of position in certain moments. Mixed runs is also said to, or attacking runs, I should say, is also said to mixed, and then aggressive interceptions and stay forward. Like I say, that forward line, they're not going to look to try and come back on defense and help and support. They're looking to stay forward, stay on the edge of the opposition's back line, stay on the shoulder of them, and try and cause them as many problems as possible for potential running on and behind, or just back to goal and trying to link up play sometimes. So yes, that is my set of Porto tactics. I hope you have enjoyed it. I think these are amazing, to be honest. I'm not trying to rank myself, but I'm just saying I think these really do come across in FIFA 23 especially as like accurate as hell. So if you can, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you are new, please. The road to 2,000 subscribers, it is on, and I'm so excited of where this channel is going and how well it's been growing over the last few weeks and months. So yes, until the next time, my dudes, I hope you have a smashing damn day. I'm out.